back at the podcast presented by Cisco. This is day 2 of the event. The showroom floor is filling up again. There's a lot of activity. It's an amazing collaboration of government, academia, and industry, all working towards a common goal of creating good things for the country of Canada. But our next guest happens to be a Royal Navy officer, and we're curious how he got into the mix, but I can't wait to get into it. Lee, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good morning. So Lee Vessey, I'm Commander in the Royal Navy, but I'm from England. So I was born in the north of England in a little fishing town called Grimsby, and I've done 21 years in the Royal Navy as a warfare officer, navigator, PWO and small ship commanding officer. And then I married a Canadian. I met her in Halifax in 2004. She came across to the UK for quite a long time, and then we decided to give Canada a try.
What's her name?
Rochelle.
Rochelle?
Yeah, Rochelle. She's from...
Rochelle, hi.
So she's from down near Peggy's Cove,
okay.
And so we're married, we've got 2 kids, and now I'm on exchange to the Canadian Navy in Ottawa.
So you're a Royal Navy officer on exchange into Canada. What do you do with the Royal Canadian Navy?
Well, it's a really good job that I've kind of hoped to do my entire career. So I'm the Director of Navy Innovation,
right,
which is bringing in new technologies, new pathways, and trying to drive an innovative culture inside the Canadian Navy.
Lee, that sounds like quite a task, right? That's fantastic. It's much needed. Tell me how that whole thing works. So do sailors identify challenges they have, or companies identify technologies they have? How do you make all that work?
Sure, so that's a great question. There's essentially 2 elements to the program. One is the new technologies, which are driven by challenges submitted by our sailors, and that's based on a methodology called design thinking, where we empower our sailors to come up with the ideas that will drive our organisation forward, and we can make progress, recognising that the old traditional procurement methods alone are not quite good enough compared to the speed of technology. But then to implement that technology, to make it a sustained capability, you need the culture. So entrepreneurship, risk-taking, and that kind of drive and leadership throughout the ranks that can implement that technology, believe in the viability, the use cases. And that's why we're here today at DefSec, because all this new technology is out on show, and these are the solutions that can match those sailors' ideas and problems that they feed into the machine.
These are, the words that you use are fantastic. Entrepreneurship, risk-taking, all those things that you need to be agile, get the latest, greatest technology, improve the way you do business, which is simply fantastic. We had the director for ideas on just yesterday, and she was talking a similar tune. Do you work close with those folks?
So the IDEAS program in DRDC Defence is a really good program.
Yeah.
It changes the way research and development is done nationally, because no longer does Defence or the government have the monopoly on new technology. It doesn't control the state of the art where it used to do maybe a few generations ago. Small, medium enterprises, and even the big defence primes, are iterating new technology much faster than perhaps our policies and our mechanisms in government can cope with sometimes. So the ability of IDEAS, which commercially outsources research and development to small, medium Canadian enterprises, is fantastic, because you get to acquire that talent and put it through its paces and get it ready for a defence capability.
This is music to the ears of the industry people in the room, right? You're a big partner wanting to do work with you, wanting your technology to enter in. How would those companies engage with you?
So we really put a lot of emphasis in our outreach to the associations, to the clusters, to the hubs, but also at events like this we make ourselves known, and we are constantly scouting. So all the members of our team and anyone we can influence inside the Navy, we charge with this remit to be a scout for technology solutions, or even new process and pathway solutions that can help our service. So engaging, discussing, and being open-minded to the art of the possible. And then the trick is finding a mechanism for bringing that new technology in.
Right. So if you were a sailor on a ship and you go into St. John's, Newfoundland, and you happen to run into a guy that works at Avalon Holographics, for example, and you say, now that is cool. I'm a Naval Combat Information Operator, and I would love to have something like that. How would they engage you in that conversation as a sailor?
we recognised there was a problem with the ability of our sailors to engage and influence the direction of the Navy. So we built a portal. So it's internal to the Navy and Defence, but there's a submission tool on there when they spot a new solution. So it has to be potentially viable, a Navy use case, and could lead to a military benefit. But that's not up to them to decide. They can just spot it, scout it, and flag it up to us. So there's an automated process. It comes straight in, and then we do a quick triage to see if it's a viable technology, and then we'll post it straight up on our tech radar so that all of Defence can see it and share that awareness. Avalon is a great technology. They went through that ideas program that you mentioned to develop a light table holographic display.
Alan, I got to say this. Look, I've spoken to you before. You've told me a little bit about this. It's not till I sat down with you right now that I realized the brilliance of what it is you and the Navy are doing. This is brilliant.
Well, Jerry, I mean, what you just described is incredible, right? You're empowering the entire Navy to go find these solutions and then report them up to us, and we'll help get that to the table.
But it's innovation, Alan, but it's also bringing someone in from another Navy. Like, that's really forward thinking.
So I have to temper my contrasting of navies against each other.
Yeah.
But there's influence, there's precedent, there's evidence of success where you can call on at the right time if you need to overcome some sort of barrier in the process. But empowering our people to feel that they can affect the direction of the organisation for the better is the modern way of doing things, and it encourages our people. It's good for attraction and retention, but it's also where the best solutions can come from, that expert end user being able to feed in the idea, and we help match them to a challenge or a solution, a delivery mechanism, whether it's the ideas program, the ISE testing stream, or what we'd like to do more of is ITBs through the value proposition, and get some of that interaction between the small and the big companies to fund innovation for the Navy.
Should be working in recruiting.
So, I want to get to that in a second because you picked up on some really cool topics there, but I'm going to stick to the last one that you mentioned, that ITB. So there'd be players in this room with obligations to spend back in Canada. How do you see yourself positioning into that conversation?
So it's a tricky area, and we haven't necessarily found a good, successful path through, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be tackling it and trying to obtain benefit out of it, because the opportunity and the potential to scale solutions is huge. So in theory, the best way for it to work would be the defence primes and the people who owe those obligations are constantly seeking ways to divest that liability in a productive way for themselves. And I saw a great podcast you had on that topic a few weeks ago. The small medium enterprises have got new technology which the big companies are kind of interested in, and it might be a nice complement to their portfolio. And at the same time, the Navy is really interested in anything that can push the frontier to find a military advantage. So why couldn't the big company partner with the small company or the academic institution to forward the research and development, proof of concept, new types of technology in new fields that would be ultimately beneficial to the Navy, and it increases our options in the future.
100%, and we had a great conversation with Thales yesterday, and they spoke to us a little bit about their philosophy around horizontal integration, getting as many SMEs involved in the conversation as they possibly could, so that they themselves could remain agile in the way they move. They understood that the bigger they would get as a company, the slower and clunkier they would become unless they had these SMEs in the mix. So it speaks a little bit to what you're talking about there, is how do we engage those big ones to involve the smaller ones in it. You're providing a great conduit to that for them. I want to pick up a little bit on your recruiting, retention topic that you brought up. What you're describing, it sounds like you want to make yourself an employer of choice. You're empowering everybody that comes into the organization. It's fantastic. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So it's a competitive job market in Canada and the rest of the world. Everybody's searching for not just talent, but also bums on seats. So the ability for the military, especially the Navy, to make an offer which is substantial and unique in the job market is already there. So the ability to take someone and put them through training for their entire career from zero to warfighting capability is unmatched in the labour market. The package of medical, dental, pension is pretty strong, really, and it's an attractive prospect. But teamwork, ethos, and that sense that you can push yourself and will be pushed to achieve your maximum potential is really a uniquely military and especially a naval thing.
Lee, you hit the nail squarely on the head with everything you described. Jerry and I have had the absolute privilege of interviewing probably 70 or 100 sailors over the last couple of years. Every single one of them loved their job. They spoke so highly of the people that they worked with and the environment that they worked in. And I think all we need to do is get Canadians to touch and feel their Navy, and they're going to want to be a part of it. Would you agree with that?
I do. I mean, the jobs that people do inside the Navy are rewarding, worthwhile. They make you feel good when you come back, and the country appreciates it. And in fact, the ability for Canada to do good in the world, in all these troubled spots where all these bad things happen, relies on forces like the Navy to sail and do this. So I've had a brilliant 21-year career so far. By the age of 24, I'd seen all 7 continents of the world, and that was the day I sailed into Antarctica for a two-year posting on the Antarctic Patrol Ship. I've had a great career, and it's landed me here with a Canadian wife, in Ottawa, Canadian children, really happy, and a real set of bright prospects for the future.
Well, I got to tell you, what a wonderful way to end this conversation here on the DefSec 2022 podcast presented by Cisco, Focus on Workforce Development. That was a nice little ending to it all. I can tell you, Lee, the Canadian Navy is lucky to have you. We're lucky to get you. You're clearly the right person for the job. You understand the complexities of that industry in there and how you can marry them up. You understand the complexities of the workforce and the next workforce. But more important than that, you know what we have to offer because you've lived it and you've been a part of it. I have not ended any of these Cisco podcasts with this, but I will end this one this way. The world needs more Lee Vessey. Thanks very much, Lee.
Thanks, Al.